My guest today is Elliot Barratt, founder and CEO of Elliot James Interiors, a luxury interior design and architecture studio that is based in Singapore with offices in London and Dubai. Welcome, Elliot.
Hi, morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Morning or evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you today and learn more about your background and, where things are headed for you all in the future. So I know, just doing a little bit of my own research on you for this sort of chat today, that your initial start with Elliot James was a bespoke furniture business. So tell me more about that.
Brief background, but my father's an engineer. My mother was always an interior design enthusiast. And so I kind of grew up being around furniture and antiques and making things and everything. So for me, when I got to kind of university, and I always knew I was going to do design, I loved the idea of working with different materials and seeing how sort of from a form point of view, how you can manipulate that and things like that. And so I started off in furniture design, and having a father that's an engineer was always great because I would come to him with some kind of wacky ideas or some crazy forms, and he'd be like, structurally that won't work or that won't hold up. So it was just always a very nice sort of time that I spent with my father doing that. And so then I went on to university and studied product and furniture design. So that's kind of where it started.
Interesting. So when you were younger, were you were playing around with design and creating furniture even as a kid?
I was always into drawing from a young age. I loved sketching and spend hours with big pieces of sort of A3, A2 paper and pencils and rulers and big drawing and things like that. Always just sort of imagining new things and that. So then when it kind of came to when we were young, when my father had a great kind of was kind of like garage or workshop, we'd always be in there making things of a weekend and for school projects and things like that. When I went to school, I went to a technology college where they had an amazing design and technology department. So straight away we were in there with like lathes and drills and sort of machinery to do that kind of woodwork and metal work and things like that. So that was very much where my interests were from a very young age, from like, sort of 8 years old, maybe 9 years old.
Did you already always know, like, I want to, have my own furniture business, or did you sort of just stumble into that?
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted to have my own business. I didn't know that it was going to be furniture design or interior design. I loved everything of design. I loved everything I loved fashion. I loved film. I loved graphic design and I just loved it all. Every time it just felt so creative, and I didn't want to kind of pigeonhole myself into one area where I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to be now forever, and be stuck in that. I kind of wanted to do it all. So one of the reason I did that kind of that qualification prior to university was that I got a very broad scope of all design. I was doing digital design. I was doing my city and guild in photography. I was doing metalwork. So it allowed me to have an amazing introduction to all kinds of design before specializing. And when I was younger, I loved products. I loved everything from sort of technology products and things like that. I think we're back in that time. It was like the first iPod was coming out, the initial iPod. So the fact that you could have something that was so beautifully formed and simple and pure, but had all this technology kind of wrapped up in it, was obviously fascinating. But then I also loved the beauty in a simple piece of furniture and looking at kind of how you can take something that everybody has to use in something like a chair and how you then strip it back to its purest form. How can it take so many different forms but then perform its task of supporting your back, being at the perfect height, all the kind of ergonomic side of things. So for me, I always had that fascination. And then when I got into university, or actually when I left university, I actually went into graphic design through default. I came out of university and I was looking for work, and I was doing my furniture on the side, but I needed my day job. So I ended up working in graphic design and then working my way up to be the head of design for the Daily Telegraph, the newspaper, but always having my business on the side. And then I started doing some installations with my furniture, and I was doing some exhibitions and things like that. And I was doing some unique pieces where one of the first pieces I created was a series of cubes. And when you sat on one, it sank. And as it sank, it revealed the armrest and the backrest. And it was this kind of modular, interactive piece of furniture. And so that got quite a lot of attention and things like that. But when it came to installations, I would then put it into a space, or I would design a piece of furniture that would go into a space, walk into the space and think, okay, my piece looks amazing, but if I had my way, I would change this, I would change that. I don't think this works and things. And straight away I was like, just doing furniture is too limited. I need to express my creativity further by taking over the whole space and reimagining the whole space. And then also then being allowed to inject my furniture within that space. And from there, that was it. I just then knew, okay, interiors is where I need to be, interior design and interior architecture. This allows me the sort of the freedom to do all of those things.
So I was going to say, what was the impetus for the change? But you just clarified that. And so when you made that decision, and I know you were starting in the UK, you were in London at the time, and then you made your way to Singapore. And that's where you started the full service design, correct?
Yes, that's right. So my long story short, so my brother was living in Asia. I've got a twin brother. He was living in Asia, and I spent a lot of time going backwards and forwards to Asia, and I just loved being here. I just found it fascinating. And then I was traveling down to Singapore, and I met up with an old friend from school, and he was in love with what I was doing. He'd seen what I was doing and was like, I think Singapore is a great market. There's a real emerging design scene. Obviously, it's a very affluent place as well. It's very transient, so you get an amazing mix of cultures and people coming through Singapore and living here. And I think this could be a great place for you to set up. So from that point, him and I were like, okay, let's do this. Let's set up the business here. And whilst the UK was in its infancy anyway. It was around the time of sort of the financial crisis back in sort of 2008, 2009. And really we were like, well, actually, let's take a chance. I had this kind of burning desire to travel. I had obviously this burning desire from being really young to start my own business. And I was like, if I don't do this now, I could find that I get 10 years down the line, I'm in a comfortable job in the Telegraph and things like that, and it may be too late. It's like, let's do this. This is this now or never. So I spoke to my girlfriend, now wife, was like, should we go have an adventure? Should we move to Asia and start this business? And she supported me and said, let's do this. And so then we came over and we set up from scratch in Singapore. And then that's where it all sort of began, really.
I know, when you first started too, that you were very focused on the luxury market, like almost right out of the gate, right? You decided that was the sector you really wanted to focus on. And so why? What made you choose that particular market?
Yeah, I think again, it sort of stems back to my youth and things like that. I was always, like I say, I had an interest in fashion as well. I was always very taken by what makes something luxury, and I think it's a question we're always asking ourselves. Define what luxury is, and I think it's so many different things to different people. But for me, especially coming from a furniture background, for me it was about quality of build. Trying to go for the luxury market, it's not an easy thing to do, and it takes a lot of discipline, and I think it takes a lot of it takes a lot of time before you break into that. But for me, it was always about being able to use the most amazing materials, being able to exercise your most creative side and create something that's really, truly unique. And I think when you're working with clients of sort of that level, I think the level of appreciation from them when creating something luxurious, I think is amazing. I think a lot of our clients, some of the most well-traveled people in the world, they know what it's like to stay at the most incredible hotels and resorts. They know what luxury looks like. It's what they drive every day. It's what they fly in and things like that. So it's also allows us to test ourselves and kind of say, okay, well, if you're going to kind of compete at this level, you need to be at the absolute top of your game.
So how do you approach that? When I imagine you have clients that come to you with these amazing, creative desires, and they expect the best. How do you handle that?
When we approach an interior, it's not just about the finishes and the fabrics and even the spatial layout. It's about how the individuals interact with that space. We want to know first thing in the morning when you wake up, what are your morning rituals? Do you go straight to the bathroom? Do you have a shower? Do you clean your teeth? And then do you leave for the office? Or do you like the sunlight to come up evenly, and then in sort of gradual music that wakes you up into a very, very comfortable and relaxed state, where you then maybe spend the morning around the dining table with your family and you have a lovely breakfast? We like to understand which side of the bed do you sleep on. Do you wake up before your partner? Do you go to bed after your partner? Because these things influence our design decisions. So, we would put low-level lighting on that is on one side. We make sure the on and off buttons are on the person's side who go to bed last. These kind of things. Do you get up? How many times do you get up during the night to go to the bathroom? You need low-level lighting that doesn't disturb your partner. All these kind of things, even down to aromas and sounds and everything. We just love that interaction and that kind of play on the senses that just... When people, especially our clients, that maybe this is their second home or third home, when they come into that space, we want them to feel instantly at home and feel at ease, but just also feel like it's a sanctuary, a space where they can truly relax.
Yeah, it's almost like you're not just designing a space, but creating an experience for them.
Absolutely.
I can't even imagine what that must be like. It must be really fun, almost like you're getting into their world and crafting, this entire, visual and sensory experience for them.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. I mean, we start from a very, very sort of wide, broad picture where, okay, if there are no boundaries, what can we create? And then we gradually bring it back into sort of the realms of reality and then obviously and then practicality and things like that. So, but it's sometimes as well. It's like handing over a baby. You spend a lot of time on creating this design, and then you see it implemented, which is so rewarding, seeing the physical. And then you kind of hand it over, and you kind of say goodbye almost, which is the hard part of the process. But it is. It's I think it is a lot of fun to do that, and I think especially when we bring in things like bespoke furniture and bespoke accessories and things like that, then you are really giving them something that's truly unique and personal.
Yeah, and I know that you also do commercial work as well. Do you approach those projects in a similar way?
We do, yeah, we do, because we don't tend to take on huge offices. We tend to focus on sort of smaller offices, which might be kind of family wealth offices and things like that. And so where we can offer that level of luxury and insight as well. So a lot of time we'll be creating like beautiful lounges, obviously sort of very sort of high-end boardrooms and things like that. And obviously sort of personalized office spaces as well. Again, just obviously it's not to the same degree, but we want to offer that same, we want to offer a similar level of interaction. And for us, we think it's fun. We've done things in the past where, offices, when you close the boardroom doors, the glass frosts up and things like that and becomes opaque. So almost like slight level of intimidation, but also a level of humor with it as well. So obviously it depends on what the client wants, but I think we're always trying to look at fun, how we inject fun into the projects as well.
What's your, craziest, or most, something that you thought was just amazing that you created for a client?
We had a project where it had this huge big concrete column that ran straight through the sort of dining room, and it was a real eyesore. And the client said, okay, I want to have a bar. I want it to be able to serve. I want it to be open and have somebody stand behind it and serve drinks when I'm entertaining, things like that. And it was a huge engineering kind of challenge because we had to create a sort of brace around the column, but we're not allowed to touch the column because it was structural. Then it was a circular bar that was wrapped in brass and suede leather. And then inside it had to have refrigeration, and it had to be cantilevered out. And then it had to have this roller area as well. And so all of this was like such a complicated build, but the result was amazing and it performed brilliantly and the client was absolutely blown away. So those kind of challenges is something we certainly rise to.
Have you ever had to tell a client, I'm sorry, this is just not possible? How do you handle that?
In terms of what they've asked for, generally, no. I don't think we've ever said no. I think we've always found a way to do it. So maybe it might be a slightly scaled back version of what they've requested, or it might be a slight deviation or something. But we've always found a way to deliver what they've asked for, but maybe in a more kind of realistic or practical way. So fortunately, again, we spend a lot of time sourcing contractors and craftsmanship and specialists in their fields that we can bring in and kind of say, okay, we've got this challenge. This is what we're thinking. This is what we're envisaging. How do we make this work?
Yeah, I imagine saying no to your clients. I mean, really any client, but especially a client that sort of has, an expectation that pretty much anything can be done must be a challenge sometimes and a delicate dance.
We're very fortunate that we don't have any sort of clients that are real divas. And so I think when it comes to things like timelines and budgets and kind of what is possible, they understand that. And I think from the very beginning as well, we've got to a position where in our very first client meeting, we will be obviously very, very honest and say, if they say, oh, well, my budget is X, and we're like, you're going to need more than that. It needs to be, 50% more, 100% more. We'll tell them on day one and say, if you want to have the level of customization that we provide, then you have to understand that it's not because it comes at a higher price tag. It's because it takes so much more engineering and the quality of materials and the quality of craftsmanship to create that piece. So if you want that level of a level of finish, then your budget needs to increase. So most of the time with those kind of questions and things, it's so important to outline that at the very beginning and make sure you're all starting off with a very, very clear picture of the deliverables and how the project is going to play out.
Yeah. Since you all are in Singapore and you're, do you have a lot of trouble? I imagine you have to import a lot of pieces. I mean, obviously, if you're, making them custom, you're probably using craftsmen that are in Singapore. But if you're having things imported, what has that been like? I mean, I know for people, that are not in Singapore, that are in the US or the UK or Canada or wherever, they're having major troubles. I think it's getting better, but
yeah, I mean, certainly. Yeah, I mean, I think certainly through, post-COVID was very, very difficult. And I think, as you said, it's certainly getting easier now. We have, say, some amazing local craftsmanship that we do a lot of our bespoke work from here. But then we also work with people out of Europe, like Portugal and Italy and France and Germany. And obviously, we still provide, we still procure a lot of products from the UK as well. We do a lot of our ironmongery and sort of sanitary wear and things like that from people in the UK. And then we work with some amazing agents as well. We have some amazing agents that we work through. So when we're doing a kind of big order from various Italian brands, because of our London office, we collate all that into the UK, and then we'll send it on one shipment. And then here we do a full kind of white glove installation service. So we'll have our logistics people here ready to receive and do quality control. And then obviously when it gets to site, we'll then inspect and obviously then do a sort of a very, very sort of involved installation and setup. For the US, obviously with us being in Singapore, it is so far away. But if we can get the lead time, then we still source a lot of things from the US as well. But those things certainly more challenging from here. Less so for the Middle East and less so for London, for the UK, but certainly for here. So it is kind of depending on the project, the location, the requirements, the timeline, the budget. obviously, So, but I think again, what sort of where we feel that it adds a level of personalization or bespoke or tailoring is for us to we're not held up by trying to use a trusted or repeated suppliers every time. We want to give our clients something unique, and one of the challenges that we love is, when we're talking about sort of brasses and leathers and things like that with products and projects and things like that, for us, we really value the idea of every project is new and the style is new, and we're testing ourselves constantly. We don't want to have a signature look or so. I think you can look through our projects and say, okay, yeah, I can start to see this is probably an Elliot James. And for us, that's more about creating something that's timeless and versatile that allows you to sort of change out artwork, cushions, things in the foreground to do that. But we also want to adapt ourselves to the client. It's very important that the home reflects them. It doesn't reflect us. So, that's why on each individual project, we will then use different suppliers from different places and things like that to give them something that is a one-off.
Yeah. So your team must spend a lot of time sourcing a product, and how do you find products? So do you have a secret for?
No, I think, we have an amazing FF&E team. They are like an encyclopedia of brands, and I think we've got to a point. I think again, being in sort of 3 different locations, we get a lot of brands come to us, which we're really fortunate, and that's taken years of establishing ourselves before having that. So we have a lot of unique brands come to us and say, okay, we're creating this, or we've got this furniture range, or we're doing a rug collection, or we're doing these kind of things, and can we show you and take you through our products? So we're always like, yeah, absolutely, we'd love to see that. And then I guess the other thing is we have our design team. I'm trying to think, we had this stat the other day. I think our design team speak something like 8 or 9 different languages from where we are. Maybe it might even be more, and from a diverse kind of background and from various countries and things like that. So everybody's very international because Singapore is such a transient place. And same thing with the Middle East. They have local knowledge of different brands and things like that. So we're bringing all that to our pot, and then it allows us to kind of, to put all of that into the sort of the creative mix, if you like. So that is again a huge sort of benefit, which is sort of by luck, really. I guess it's rather than engineers.
So when you're bringing on, let's say, a new team member, obviously depending on their role, if they're focused on FF&E, how do you determine? You all are in such a special niche, really, and how do you determine who's the right fit for your firm?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. For us, it's not obviously, first of all, it's usually an introduction. People approach us with an email, or and then it's a CV and a portfolio, and I really appreciate the sort of the flood of people that are all trying to get an opportunity, and I think it's really, really hard, and I would really dread coming out of university right now, because I think there's so much talent, and I think, without going off on a tangent, but with AI and things like that, there's a lot of these tools at disposal that allows everybody to be very creative very quickly, but it can also then put you in a bit of a it can start to look repetitive and things like that. So for us, when we're looking for new candidates, we want to see something that is unique. And I know that's easy to say, but it's like, I want to see something that's a unique approach to design. For me, I always resonate. I think if we're talking about an FF&E position, then for me, having a great knowledge of furniture, but understanding form and understanding kind of good curation of furniture as well is very important. How you put things together, and I think things like, we see a lot of Minotti and these kind of flex form or polyform sort of replications, where people are doing very sort of minimalist furniture and they put them together because then that's what everybody knows and things like that. And we see that a lot, and it's those kind of things that you're like, okay, guys, show me something different, show me something really unique. We created some armchairs for a client for a project, and we asked him for I think it was 9 of his favorite quotes, and it was everything from like Aristotle to Yoda from Star Wars. And we said, okay, give us your inspirational quotes. And then what we did is we had an artist, a furniture artist called Jimmy Martin out of the UK, customize, I think it was 9 or 10 dining chairs, and they all had these quotes on. So when you walk into the home, you see these different quotes, and then you get to choose like, do you know what? I want to sit in the Yoda chair, or I want to sit in this chair, or this one resonates with me. It becomes a great talking point. And for that was a lot of fun, and it was very sort of artistic, and it allowed us to do graffiti, which the client liked, all this kind of thing. But it's those kind of things that like thinking outside the box. You know, if somebody came to me and said, I've created this light and I don't know, it's a chandelier, but it does this, or it has this artistic insight, or it has this beautiful story. For me, I think a lot of what we do, and I think especially at this level, is about storytelling. It's convincing our clients, why have you done this? Well, actually, you mentioned something in your past, and we felt this piece represents that, and that resonated. And we think every time you come in and you see this piece, it can remind you of this. And I think that also adds to the story, to your journey. It adds to the sort of warmth of the home, because it has this level of insight and personalization. And I think that is the sort of thing that we're looking for from people. It doesn't need to be on a grand scale. It's just understanding sort of an understanding of people as well, you know. So I think for people to demonstrate that insight, demonstrate why have you chosen this piece of furniture? What's the story behind it? Why should this be considered? That kind of thing. And I think, without, again, going on a tangent into AI, for us, you know, we're always having this conversation, and with our architect partners, is this massive question at the moment: is architecture dead because of AI and things like that? And I think, you know, a lot of it is, and especially at the luxury level, it's about understanding people and understanding how they work, and understanding how you can provide a home to them that can't be replicated through imagery or through, you know, through AI. I'm really excited by AI and what it brings, but I think people that are fearing it, I think it's understanding how you use it as a tool rather than fearing that it's going to replace you. It's, you know, I think it's just gonna ask the designer to be more insightful, and then you can use the AI to represent that visually, you know. So I think it's important to embrace it.
Have you all, since you do a lot of custom furniture, have you played around with AI and using that to sort of just do the design?
Yes, I mean, with AI, not so much. We have our own in-house team of renderers, so we do a lot of in-house modeling and things like that. So we'll do that, and then we render it, and we have in-house animators as well. So we've just created a design for a yacht in the UAE, in the Middle East. And what we've done is we've created an interactive or virtual reality walk around. And so the client can actually walk around, and they can pick up objects, and they can move them around and reconfigure if they want to. They can press a button, they can change out a sofa for a different style and things like that. So we're kind of developing that. And then especially as, you know, post-COVID, obviously a lot of communication is now done via Zoom and via video call. But it also from our industry, I think it's changed for the better, because it's allowed us to be more international. Clients are happy for us to give presentations via Zoom, whereas previously, you know, we had to be there in person. And we'll do things like we'll send sample boards and sample packs and things like that to our clients so they can see. But this is just another level where we can send them a set of our AI goggles, our VR goggles, and they can wear them, and then they can interact. And we can also then, it's then connected with our machine. So when we give them presentations, the clients will be wearing it, but we're in the space with them effectively, and we can kind of say, okay, so this is our intentions here and things like that. So it's trying to embrace that technology. And I think with AI, I think that naturally is probably going to come next and play into that in some form.
Yeah, that is so cool. I think it's going to be, I think if used correctly and thought of, like you said, not as a replacement for you, but as an aid or a tool, it's going to be really interesting to see how the design world embraces it. So
yeah, I think one of the great things about it as well is that it removes room for interpretation or misinterpretation. I think when you're looking at 3D renders, or you're looking at walkthroughs, or you've got VR goggles on where you're physically or virtually in the space, you understand, okay, oh, this goes there, and oh, this is going to look like this. I think it requires a lot of work on the designer's side to make sure that the render is very accurate, but it also removes a lot of work at the back end where clients can then walk in and go, oh wow, this is not how I thought it was going to look. You're removing that room for miscommunication. So I think it's again, it sort of helps. It helps get to the design or get to the style and things like that very, very quickly, and for the clients to understand how it works.
And speaking of, you mentioned, the yacht that you all are working on. So I know you've recently opened a new office in Dubai. So how's that going? And how did you get there? How did you determine that was your next spot to open?
Yeah, I think the sort of the reason for doing it was we're in Singapore and in London, so our time difference is kind of 8 hours and 13 hours flight. So it's quite a distance. And we had a lot of clients that were here in Singapore, clients from the UK that are all starting to invest in Dubai. It's a booming property market. There's again, it's kind of got that like emerging design scene that I felt was here in Singapore maybe kind of 12 years ago. And it's very established, but again, has an amazing international clientele, clients that expect a level of quality and finish and things like that, but also want something unique. So for us, it seemed to make perfect sense. And when we're in Dubai, we're not only servicing sort of surrounding areas such as like Abu Dhabi and even obviously Saudi and things like that, interest from that areas as well, but it allows us to very much manage Singapore from there and also London and be on those sort of time zones, whereas at the moment it sort of doesn't work. So it became a bit of a natural progression to do that, but also our clients were then demanding that. So we had clients from Singapore that were buying properties in Dubai and said, can you look at my property in Dubai? I want you on this. I'm like, cool, so we'll be there. And then obviously after sort of research and things like that, it made perfect sense for us to have a physical office there. There is an amazing talent pool as well coming from all over, from Asia, from India, from Europe, and obviously even the US coming over. And I know it's a bit further for the US to travel, but there's an amazing talent pool there as well of creatives and designers and renderers and engineers and things like that, and it's just a very exciting place to be. So given everything that sort of I probably have said in this interview, whatever, earlier on about not wanting to be limited to certain areas of design, I don't want to be limited to certain geographical locations either. So for us to be there where there's so much going on right now, it's like, wow, this is great, this is exciting, this is going to ask questions of us, it's going to push us further, and so that was kind of the motivation behind it.
That's exciting. So your clients are asking for you to look at their properties there, and then you're getting projects probably word of mouth, or how else are you getting projects there?
Yeah, I think it's certainly word of mouth and referrals. I think there's also social media as well. It's playing a big part. I think people are seeing what we've already done, which is very fortunate. And I think obviously it always helps to have local presence and have projects that you've done in Dubai. So if we're working in Dubai, people want to see the projects in Dubai. They don't necessarily want to see projects in Asia unless it's sort of relevant. But I think that ultimately that's what kind of opened the doors for us. Having existing clientele in Dubai was really helpful, and having a very sort of broad range or broad portfolio as well helped. I think as well, because our portfolio is varied, it allowed us to certain projects still resonated with people in the UAE, which is great. Whereas I think if we were just doing Balinese villas or things like that, it wouldn't be relevant. Whereas we've done kind of coastal front penthouses and things like that are overlooking the Singapore Straits, but that could easily be overlooking the Palm. So, and it's that kind of different, that kind of style that is resonating across different regions.
You have so much experience in these different locations with, as we mentioned, just really focused in the luxury market. If there was a designer out there that was looking to sort of break into a more luxury market, what would you suggest? What recommendations? What sort of words of wisdom might you impart?
I would say the main thing, if people are trying to break into luxury sector, is being genuine. I think you have to be genuine, and I think you have to speak the truth, and you have to be authentic. And I think that is the biggest kind of personality traits that you can carry forward. If you don't know the answer, say you don't know the answer, and say, if a client asks you and puts you on the spot, you cannot, you cannot pull the wool over their eyes. You have to be genuine. You have to say, let me come back to you on that. It's something that I've not done yet, but I know we can do it. Let me come back to you. So I think being genuine, and so I think that's very important. But also, too, the reason we pitched ourselves at the luxury end as well was because we knew long term that's where we wanted to operate, and that's where our aspirations were. We just wanted to go up. What we were concerned with was if we start on this kind of on the sort of mid levels, you could get stuck there because that's what you become known for. So if you're pitching yourself at luxury, it's about discipline to stay there. So it's going to take probably a lot longer than other projects. I think it's also important to just always make sure that you have your brand values at the forefront. So only putting forward and being very, very strict with what you allow people to see. So for us, it was like we would take projects for free because we saw, this is in the early days, we would take projects on free because we saw that actually this would allow us the creativity to do something really unique and show it on a luxury level. We would do projects, obviously, that maybe it might only be one room, but it meant that we could really showcase that. And obviously, there's the work that you take on that pays the bills. We all need that, but it's making sure what your public persona and your brand representation is making sure that you are very, very strict on what that looks like. You cannot put anything out there that is less than luxury, because otherwise that's what you get known for, or say these clients will spot it a mile off and know that you're not genuine. So it's a long-winded answer to that question, but I think it's just a very, very complex and tricky question.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a great answer and actually great advice to any entrepreneur. Right, when you're going after a particular ICP,
Yeah, absolutely.
Be consistent.
I think that's it. I think it's I think on a business level, I think it's certainly about consistency. It's about doing the small things day in, day out, and repetition, and staying true to that vision. So somebody, I had a business coach years ago that said to me, what you're focusing on is you need to think of yourself as climbing a mountain, and if you think about putting one step in front of the other, it becomes very, very overwhelming and daunting because you have this huge task ahead of you, where if you just keep your eye on the horizon, then you just keep moving forward. And you may come across a river, you may come across a track, and it makes you deviate off for a while. But as long as that peak, that target is still in sight, then, you will get there. It's never a straight line. And I think that's the most important thing. But as long as whatever that goal is, as long as you keep that sort of true, then you just keep working every day towards that. And I think that's something that's still every day. That's what we do. We try and keep to those core values, and keep sort of testing ourselves and trying to sort of perform with that idea in mind.
Yeah, that's really great advice. I love that analogy. That's perfect. Well, so Dubai was the last opening. Where are you going next? Any ideas? Any thoughts?
I think for now we're pressing the pause button. I think we think between those kind of three offices, we've got our hands full. I think we spent a lot of time the sort of back end of last year and early this year, and I think having the three offices is we just want to make sure that we're consistent with the product, we're consistent with the service, and for us, it's making sure that the clients feel like if they're dealing with the London office or they're dealing with the Singapore office or we're in Dubai, they feel like they're getting exactly the same level of service. They're getting the same quality, And from a team structural point of view, we like to involve all of our designers into every design. It allows us to make sure that the product is consistent, but it also allows us to have those different insights as well from different cultural backgrounds, from different educational backgrounds and specialisms, to make sure that we've thought of everything and make sure that we're kind of considering everything. So right now, I think we're quite happy with those three areas. And then really just focusing on the individual talent. It's the talent that is allowing us to really sort of push this brand forward and allow us to sort of grow the way we are and to receive I guess, the sort of the perception, the accolades, the sort of clientele that we're attracting. I think just because of the level of professionalism, the level of creativity. I'm really, myself and Tom, we're just trying to create a platform for them to really express themselves. It's when you come to Elliot James, we're not micromanagers. It's more, this is our vision, and we're gonna push you on how creative you can be and what can we do next. But at the same time, we want to sort of put it in the hands of these creatives. That's exactly why we've found them, so we can really showcase their abilities.
That's great. Yeah. So it sounds like it's a team effort. It's not just, just you at the top and giving direction. It's a team effort.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely. No, exactly that. It's, if anything, I play devil's advocate more these days. That's my role, is to sort of say, okay, this is beautiful, but why are we doing this? And have you thought about that? And tell me the story behind it. Why are we doing this? And to ask those questions. But I think after the amount of time that we've been in business and sort of the team that we've brought in, it doesn't require me to do to be leading the design. It's more just to ask the questions. For me, it's about understanding the clients, being able to articulate that back to the design team. And then as a collective, we then come up with the various solutions and sort of design.
I imagine that keeps your team really happy and that you don't have a lot of turnover because they feel like you have ownership.
I hope so. I hope so. I think, we have a very good staff retention for sure. There's people who've been with us a long time. We're trying to create a place for them that they feel that as we grow and as we venture into new areas, that they are coming with us. This is a journey for all of us. And I think for us, if our staff are feeling a little bit stuck in maybe one region, we want to open them up and say, okay, well, for our designers in Dubai, a lot of them have worked on some amazing palaces and villas and properties, but they've been used to doing one style as well. A lot of marble and a lot of glass and things like that. So we're like, okay, what opportunity would you like? And I would love to work with wood on a Balinese villa or a Balinese resort. We're like, okay, well, let's do that. We want our designers to be very well rounded and exposed to all different kinds. So it makes for a really creative and fun place to work. So I think it gives everyone an opportunity to think outside their box. So it's it's great.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds like a great place to work.
Yeah. I mean, it's not all roses and like fun and games every day kind of thing. It's. We certainly have our challenges and our deadlines and obviously sort of workload is pretty intense. But I think if we can create that culture and sort of an environment where creatives are really being truly creative, I think that's key. As a creative, I know that's what makes me tick. I want to be challenged creatively every day and things like that. So
Great. Well, is there anything new on the horizon and exciting? Any plans coming up that you want to share?
We're doing some amazing projects all over the world. We're doing also some food and beverage as well. So we're doing a beautiful 100-year-old patisserie in Raffles Hotel here in Singapore. So I think that's going to be very interesting once that's finished. So that's going to be kind of middle of the year this year. and we're a few months off completing an incredible wellness members club here in Singapore as well. Kind of the first of its kind in Asia, where we're looking at hyperbaric chambers, cryo chambers, everything about sort of longevity and rejuvenation and things like that. So that we're really excited about. We're doing a lot more with developers and hotels in places like Vietnam and India as well. And all of that is kind of centered around as well this kind of this wellness and sort of going back to your point of talking about luxury. It's interesting what people are wanting from their homes now, and wellness is a massive buzzword, but it is about quality of life and rejuvenation and things like that, recuperation. So that's really interesting. But on a kind of company level, we're doing a number of collaborations, which we can't sort of say too much about at the moment, but we're doing things like we're doing a beautiful rug collection as well that's based on kind of nature as an influence. And then we're sort of doing some bespoke furniture collections as well, but they're sort of very early in their conception at the moment. So so watch this space.
Fun. Well, I can't wait to see how those evolve and your projects coming up. So if people want to follow you, where's the best place for them to look at your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So our Instagram, which is Elliot James Interiors, is a great place. I think it shows we have some amazing stories, some great kind of before and afters as well. And they're showing on our stories and reels and things like that. They're showing projects that are right now on site. So we'll be doing big installations and things, and people can see that. They can see the before. We've done a penthouse where it was dated and hideous and blue ceilings and yellow walls, and then it sort of shows you the renders, and then it shows you the reality of what we created as well. So all of that is a great place to really understand what makes us tick behind the doors. And then really our website is as our kind of real showcase as well.
Well, this has been fun. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And we'll be following.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Scotty. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure, and just lovely spending time this morning talking about what we do. We're always so passionate about when people want to know what we do and how we do it. So it's never a hardship, but this has been great fun.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing some amazing things. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.